Hello, crafty friends. My name is Jessica, and welcome back to my channel. Today, I am excited to be playing with some of the new release from Says Stamp here for July 2024. So, we're going to be doing the blackout technique or the reverse blackout technique. I'm not sure what the exact name is, but when I saw this embossed panel, I just knew I had to do it. So, for this technique, you're going to be using the deboss side. So, here I'm showing you, we're using the panel. I went ahead and ran it through, and then we're using the part that dips down towards our work surface, not up. And typically, when I do this, I usually like to do my panel blending before I emboss. So I like to kind of get a little more free spirited and just lay the color down before embossing it so that it's a little bit more of a mystical kind of free feel. But because this embossing folder was so what I would call structured with these florals, I decided to try it where we emboss it and then ink it up and then do our blackout swiping. So I just grabbed some Simon Says Stamp inks. These are some of my favorite inks here in my craft room, and I really enjoy them because of all the different properties that they have. They are water reactive, they dry back beautifully, they blend lusciously. How many different adjectives can I use? They're all of them, all the good ones. So I grabbed some colors and then quickly realized that there were more different types of florals on this panel than what I originally thought. So I grabbed a couple more. We're going to add even a few more here in a minute. And I'm just going through and kind of laying ink down, trying to be a little bit careful because I don't want to add ink into the other florals. That some of these florals are tight on top of each other, especially the little yellow ones that I've already created. I didn't want to create muddied florals. So I'm using my various brush sizes here to ensure that I'm keeping the ink where I want it, but also not. So you there are a couple of them that you notice that the ink gets outside. That's okay because this technique covers a lot of that up. So just have fun, lay your color down. Don't be concerned too much with it because this technique does require us to go ahead and put a dark ink on top, and it's going to hide a lot of those little imperfections. Now I've went ahead and brought in Peony, one of my favorite pinks, and it is a pack and a punch there. Definitely popping compared to some of the other colors that I grabbed. But that's okay. Like I said, the color we're going to lay on top is going to help tone these colors down. And this is a really fun technique. I highly recommend it. Like I said, I like to be a little more free when doing this. But for this one, because it was a little bit more of like a structured scene, I guess. I don't know what to call it. Yeah, a scene. I went ahead and I'm doing it a little bit more intentional. I do apologize that I'm somewhat off camera here. The one of the joys of filming is sometimes you get so into creating that you realize that you're off camera a little bit too late. So I just wanted to add a little bit more dimension. So I'm going through and adding some yellow to the leaves just to kind of create a little bit more color variation, and then going in and adding the brown to the additional florals that needed their little centers. This could be just fun the way that it is. Maybe add some shimmer spray, add some water so that the color kind of wicks out. That could be really beautiful, creating a little bit of a I don't want to say fuzzy, but a fuzzy little watercolor, loose watercolor. That could be really, really, really pretty. You would have to use some watercolor paper beforehand so that you get that nice wicking. I am using Simon Says Stamp 130-pound cardstock. It is my favorite for ink blending, so that is the one that I'm using here today. Now, what I did right there was off camera, I went ahead and re-embossed the panel just to firm up the lines. And then we're going in with Night and using a brayer to lay this color down. You can just swipe the ink pads over the top of these panels and get the same results. I need to do a side-by-side comparison because my brayer added a few little lines, as you can kind of see there in that purple floral. And I wasn't too happy with that, but I need to do a side-by-side comparison to see If you get better results with a brayer versus the ink pad, these are foam ink pads, and so they are squishy. And sometimes you can lay ink down just a little too heavy because of that. Oh, I forgot. Don't lay your hands down into your ink. When you do a brayer, I forget how much ink you're actually laying down. And on this little Tim Holtz work surface, this is from my glass mat. It looked very deceiving. I didn't realize there was so much ink down, and then I put my hand in it, and my hands were stained pretty much for a couple days. But I do need to do a comparison to see what one gives the best results. Here, I'm trying to fix that line. I didn't really enjoy it right there. It's in a couple other spots, but I just felt like that one was drawing too much attention, and I wanted to try to remove it, but I couldn't. So I'm just going to deal with it. It is what it is, but it would be interesting to see the difference between a brayer and a pad right to paper. Because those pads are squishy, which is what I was starting to say, you can get more ink in the debossed parts of the florals. And so I feel like it looks a little bit more crisp, but like I said, I need to do a comparison. I did also use a dark navy. The blackout technique works really well when you use a darker ink. A lot of people use black. I've done blue, black, dark purple, brown, dark green. And as long as it's just a more dark color than what the blending that you laid down is, it's going to work. So now I'm going in and I'm using some water to create a little bit more texture. These inks are water reactive, so I've spritzed a lot of water or tapped a lot of water onto it to try to get some more movement with these colors. You can see there in the purple floral that bleaching out of the color. It's kind of turning a little bit pink. That's what's really fun about these inks too, is they are water reactive, so they are technique heavy. Then I went ahead and added some droplets of the Spritz sprays from Tim Holtz, and then I added one pump of Spritz spray and just wanted to add a little bit more shimmer. And I went ahead and dried that off panel to get that wicking of the color from the water to go ahead and move a little bit faster. Typically, I like to let my Technique panels dry back but for the sake of video, I did need to dry those off camera. Now we're going to go ahead and assemble the card, and I'm going to just take a quick moment to let you know that the supplies are all linked below in the description box for all the things that I used today. Please note that they are affiliate links, and what that means is if you click on a link, do a little shopping with my link, I do receive a small commission at no cost to you. This just keeps the craft room fully stocked and keeps me inspired moving forward to create these videos. Now, I am a working out mom. And so here I have a little hand helping me build this card up. My daughter loves to create here in my craft room, and sometimes I have to do a little bit of filming when they're around, and that's the results. We get a little sneak peek of little hands and unicorns and all sorts of fun things. So because this panel is so color heavy and beautiful, we're going to keep the sentiment really simple. I loved these sentiments here from a recent release, the previous one. And I thought that adding this more, I don't know what to call this sentiment, but maybe a little more playful to this really beautiful background was kind of fun. So I went ahead and we went with Some Days Suck and then the small little facts. And we're going to go ahead and just trim it down and then add a little color to it. That's what's fun about these white sentiment strips from Simon Says Stamp is you can add ink to them and it's just paper, so it dries back beautifully and you can create really fun sentiments and they match your card. So I am using the blue that we had previously used in the panel, and I did not re-ink it. I'm just using what's on the brush and just adding a quick little layer here to the sentiment. After this, we're going to go ahead and pop it up since we did leave the panel for the most part one flat layer. I know there is some embossed or debossed technically texture here. I did add a foam strip to the back of the panel as well as to the sentiment. I tend to be an over adhesor in using lots of adhesive, but also popping a lot up. I realize that for some that does create additional charges for cards. I pay it. I like my cards to be thick. It's just more appealing to me when they have a lot of dimension, but you could definitely just glue the sentiment down with some liquid glue or tape runner to avoid having any additional costs for your cards. Now, I do apologize. I do get this sentiment a little wonky. You don't really see it until a little bit later. It is crooked. But the joys of filming, when you're filming above you like this, sometimes it's hard to get over top of your cards to ensure that they're straight. And even though I used a ruler, somehow I still got it a little bit wonky. Now, because we used that Spritz spray earlier, that gold, we are going to add some gold confetti coins. I don't know what we call them, but I love these sequins a lot. I love them when they don't have holes in them, and I'm going to use them way more than I'm going to use actual sequins. And that's going to be the card for today. Remember, all the supplies are linked below, and I appreciate you guys joining me today, and I hope to see you at the next one. Take care.